Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we're going to take a look at 5 foil quill designs.
Alrighty, today I'm going to share with you 5 foil designs that I created for the silhouette with the foil quill. And actually I'm going to pull this out of the way. I had that out for another project I was working on. And here we go. So we have a feather. And these will be free over on my blog, and also a triangular design and some frames. And I used some hot foils that I had. I used actually the teal, and this one is from Spellbinder's foil, and it works amazingly well. And there's birthday balloons. And now really quickly what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create some cards with these and show you how you can create cards with your foil designs that you can grab for free over on my website, JillCameronCreations.com. Be right back. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a birthday card. And the first thing that I'm going to do with this balloon is I'm going to trim this down just a little bit. And I'm just kind of trying to center this up and make sure that it's nice and straight. And we're going to run this through my Spellbinder's Platinum 6 machine, and it's sitting over here to the side, so I don't have to pull it in and out of the visual area, but here we go. Pull that off nice and easy. Make sure we don't tear anything. And the die that I used is from the Spellbinder's matting set for A2. And if you ever have a little tear on your paper, I'll show you how you can fix that in just a second. Because sometimes that happens. And when it does, you need a sand eraser. And Tombow makes a good sand eraser. And just go over it really gently, and then it will pull off. Instead of ripping the paper even more, it will pull that off, and now you can't even tell it was there. Ta-da! Alright, we're going to set this to the side for a second, and I'm going to stamp on some Nina Solar White. And this is the Lawn Fawn Happy 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 set. And I'm going to use my acrylic block. And we're going to die cut this too. And I want to use some pink ink against this white background. So I have my favorite things, Razzleberry, and I'm not sure that they make this color anymore. But they do have a few that are very, very similar to this. And I'm making sure that I'm giving myself enough room here that I can die cut this. And I'm holding it down just a second longer to make sure that I get a good impression. And I really didn't get a good impression, so I'm going to stamp this again. This is a brand new stamp, and I did not condition it. Shame on me. So let's do that really quick. There we go. Now we're getting better and better and better. There we go. Now that's a pretty thing there. And we're also going to use the birthday sentiment from here. Happy birthday. this off. And I'm going to line this up. See, there's little lines on my block there. Sentiment straight. That way you know that you're going to have a nice line. And since I'm just going to cut this out, I just used my grid line on my mat to line that up. And of course you can use your MISTI if you want to. I don't need to use MISTI for sentiments. Actually, I stamp really, really bad when I use sentiments, so I don't do it. I don't use my MISTI for that. Now we are going to go ahead and cut this out with the coordinating die. Peel that off. Now we have our happy. Stick that back in the bag so that I don't lose it, because I am famous for misplacing dies. And now what we're going to do is we're going to line this up in here, and I'm going to trim off a little sentiment strip. Now I can pull this to where I need it. Ta-da! Now what I want to do, so that I can give this some dimension, is I'm actually going to cut this a couple of more times. I need to get the paper out of the holes here. There we go. So I'm going to cut this 3 more times, or 2 more times, excuse me, so that I can have some dimension on my sentiment. There we go. And I'm making cards today, waiting on really bad storms to come my way. And I went through, I don't know if you remember last year, we had really bad rainstorms, and I had a flood in my basement. And as many of you know, my craft room is in my basement. And so today I came downstairs and got everything off the floor, electric cords and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that, and all the paper and everything that I had sitting in the floor is now sitting up on tables and all that kind of stuff. So if I am a little slow to respond to an email or a question or something, it might be because I'm cleaning water out of my basement. Just letting you know. Alright, so now we are going to go ahead and adhere these together. And I'm going to use some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. And the tip of mine broke. And that tip is what keeps these bottles from clogging. And the tip of mine broke, so I have to unclog it every time I use it now, which it unclogs really, really easy. So if it happens, don't toss it. It does unclog very, very easily. Just go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive down. And I really like using liquid adhesive on my sentiments so that it's a whole lot easier to line them up. Plop that down and it screwed it. Unscrew that. There we go. I have had a lot of fun with this foil quill on my silhouette, creating patterns and that kind of thing to make and put in the background on my cards. And one thing that I've always liked is, or I've always wanted to do, is take stamps and make them into, have them be stamped and put foil on them. And I think I have figured out a way to do that, and I'll share that in my next video. And we're going to go ahead and put this on after I make sure that everything's lined up again. Oh, there we go. I'm going to put some adhesive on here and back. I really like incorporating the a new way of creating cards and that kind of thing with traditional ways of stamping. And do I want to do that or do I want to do that? I want to do that. There we go. I don't know why I'm putting that up, because we are going to put some fun sequins on here. And I really like traditional stamping and die cutting, and I also really like doing using my silhouette and finding new ways to incorporate different things into my designs and that kind of thing. And that's one thing that you're going to see over the next couple of months is new designs in using my silhouette, and new cards and card designs, etc., etc. And I need one more dark one. And if you're wondering, I get my sequins from Cartwright Sequins online, and I buy them in larger bulk containers. Right there. Is that good? Yeah, that looks good to me. I put them in, I usually get the larger bulk bags of sequins and then make my own mixes. And if they don't fit in the container, then they ended up in here. And I tend to use that more than I use individual colors that are separated out, just because I can quickly grab that and it has a little bit of everything in it that I can use. All the different colors. Well, that stuck to my thing. Well, that's no good. There we go. I need to put a little bit more glue down. There we go. And I'm trying to get in the habit of doing my voiceovers along with my cards so that my videos will be a little bit shorter. But since I'm going to be making 5 cards, I'm probably going to, well, that one moved. I'm probably going to just do the voiceover for this card in real time, and then I will do my regular voiceover and have the videos sped up on the remaining cards. The other thing that takes me a while is sometimes I like to clean up as I go so that I don't have a great big huge giant mess at the end. Oh, let's see here. I want to add some sparkle to this, and with my basement being cold, I have to heat up Nuvo drops so that I can get that air bubble out. There we go. Put a little dot of sparkle in the middle of these. And I also have to heat it up so that they will form correctly. If you're having problems getting your Nuvo drops to form pretty dots, it might be because they are too cold. And you might need to warm them up a bit. Amy R., I don't know if you've seen her picture before, she sticks hers down in her bra, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to add some more here. This dries clear, so I'll have some sparkly clear. But you can see how this is forming nice dots for me. If this was cold, it wouldn't do that. Ta-da! Now, I'm going to put this on a card base. I probably should have done that last, but that's okay. Put the dots on there last, but that's okay. Mash this down really good and get a good crease in this. Since I'm going to be ta-da! And everything's still there. And now you have a simple and pretty birthday card. Ta-da! With some happy birthday balloons in the background.
Now for the next cards, I'm going really fast through these. This is the Chevron background, but I wanted you to see all of the backgrounds that I created, and you can head over to my blog and grab the files, and it'll be a link in the description down below. And I just created 5 really quick cards to show off the backgrounds. In the Chevron, I used, this was a free stamp at one point for Concord and 9th, and I honestly don't remember what the name of it is. It was just a free stamp, and it's Sending Love is written into the heart, and it has a little arrow and that the ends of it that go on either side. And I stamped those separately and heat embossed those in silver, and then I add just some foam tape behind those pieces and attach those to the front of the card. And really simple but very impactful, just because you have that foil in the background. It's super cute. This one and the balloon one for the happy birthday are probably my 2 favorite ones. I have one card that I did that is the frames, and that's towards the end of the video, and I had such a hard time with it. And the reason I had such a hard time with it is because I didn't let the ink dry long enough on the stamp where I stamped an image, and I was trying to heat emboss on top of it, and I just didn't let it dry long enough, and it was embossing powder everywhere, and it's just a big old mess. I cut the big old mess part out, but I show you how I fixed it, because I think that's something that everybody needs to see, is that you get in the middle of a card and it doesn't go exactly how you think it should. There's always some way you can fix it. And so I don't give up on a card anymore. I always try to, unless it's just completely and totally destroyed, which I have been known to do, but I try to really fix my mistakes on my cards, and that's a lot easier to do than some might think. So I'm sharing some of those little peeks into crafting disasters. This is a triangle background, and I did something a little different. I wanted something a little out there, a little different for what I usually do, and I clear heat embossed the cityscape on the bottom of this, and then clear heat embossed a heart inside of one of the triangles, and then did a white heat embossed sentiment on the front, and that's it. That's all I did. It's super, super, super cute. I filled in the city itself, the cityscape, with aqua shimmer pen, so it has some glitter in it, and it's really, really pretty in person. And I really liked this card. It was way, way different, and I thought that the triangles background really led to that funky, geometric, kind of off the wall, abstract look, and I really, really did like this. So maybe I had 3 favorite cards. Okay, I really liked all 5 of them. Who am I kidding? I had a lot of fun creating these backgrounds and playing in Silhouette Studio and figuring out all that stuff. If you hear big booms, it's really storming here while I'm doing this. We're actually under a tornado watch, as I mentioned earlier, and that's not people running around in my house or banging on walls or anything. It's actually thunder and lightning and crazy stuff. I'm actually surprised that my dog isn't down here with me, cowering under my feet. Anywho, we did have tornadoes today in our area, probably about 30 minutes from me and one about an hour from me. And that tore up some stuff pretty good, and we're under flash flood watches and warnings and tornado warnings and watches and stuff until like midnight tonight. And I'm in Central Virginia, and that's not something that's supposed to happen in Central Virginia, but it's been happening more and more, so it is what it is. So this is the frame. This is the card that gave me a ton of trouble. This is the frame-free SVG file for your foiling, and I used a stamp from, this is also Concord and 9th. I was on a Concord and 9th kick today after I got over my lawn fawn kick. I don't know why. But I was going to do this all as one layer, but I ended up where I stamped this purple so many times, and then I stamped the outline image that goes on top of this. I stamped it again on here, and then I was going to stamp with Versamark on top of it to put the sentiment in there. And the ink was just, it was still too damp, and I should have heat set it, and I just didn't. I thought that, you know, waving it back and forth in the air for a minute was going to fix it, and it didn't. So what I ended up doing was stamping the world again on a separate piece of cardstock. Nina, oh, I'm sorry, my mother texted me really quick and wanted to make sure I was okay because the storms started earlier today. And I stamped this in the same colors and the same ways that I did before, but I did heat set it, and then I stamped my sentiment, and then I cut 2 more circles out. And when you cut this world out with the die that goes with it, it makes it just a shade smaller than the stamped image. So what I ended up doing was taking the paper that has the already stamped image on it that I messed up so many times, and I took a Copic marker and went around the edge of it to make it darker, so it looks like it's a little bit of a shadow behind it. The purple that I'm using is from Nuvo, and I love that purple. Purple's my favorite color, and absolutely love that. Die cut that, and I die cut 2 more circles to put behind it so it would give it a little bit of lift, and then took my marker and went around the edge of the already stamped image on that piece of paper right there so that it would stand out and it would look like a little shadow behind it. And that's how I ended up fixing this. And I mounted this on a I was gonna do this. I was gonna see if I had a circle die that would be the actual size, if not just a shade bigger, and it didn't. So I decided to take my purple marker and do it. I actually need another set of circle dies, and like the Hero Arts ones that have the great big huge pile of dies in it. I need another set because my set is very limited and I tend to run into that problem. And I just went right around the edge of it, and you'll see that it looks like a little shadow behind that. Then the last one that we're going to do is the feather, and the feather is probably one of my favorite images that I created too, and just because it's so simple and you could replicate it in a background. You could just leave it as one element like I did. You could make it smaller and make it two and cross over the stems. I don't guess it's a stem. Is it a stem? Maybe it's a stem. I don't know if it's a stem. I don't know what else to call it. The base of the feather. And there is our fourth, and here is our fifth. Wipe off all the embossing powder, and there's our feather. And this is a clearly besotted stamp set, and it's 4 or 5 years old. And I trimmed this piece down so that I could center it on a white background. And I'm going to keep this card very, very simple. A white heat embossed sentiment, and then I'm going to add 3 Nuvo drops in Glacier White on it and call it done. So don't forget to head on over to my blog. There's pictures of the cards at the end of this video, so you can check that out. And there's also a Copic coloring quick start guide that I have over on my blog. You can sign up to receive that, as well as a Copic quick start class that I have a workbook with, and it's a mini course, and you can check that out and more information about that over on my blog as well. And if you have any questions, if you want to see something specific, if you need help with Copic coloring, if you need help with silhouette, studio, or figuring out how to cut something, just drop me a line and I will be more than happy to help. And I have a video coming up on the library for Silhouette Studio. Thanks for joining me today. Y'all have an amazing day.